Just ahead on CTV News, the Department of Justice files a lawsuit against the Dolly cargo ship owners. Plus, UMD students team up with CARE to file a lawsuit against the school. And Simon Buggs brings us our Wednesday sports page. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening, this is CTV News for September 18th. I'm Kayla Newton.
And I'm Mariah Jalad. Thanks for joining us. The U.S. Justice Department files a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the owners of the cargo ship that struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The civil lawsuit says that the cargo ship owners, known as Grace Ocean Private Limited, quote, sent an ill-prepared crew on an abjectly unseaworthy vessel to cut corners in ways that risked lives and infrastructure. The federal government is seeking more than $100 million in punitive damages. When the cargo ship known as the Dolly crashed into the bridge back on March 26, 6 workers who were on the bridge died. Miguel Luna was one of those victims, and his wife says they dreamt about owning their own restaurant together.
Pocos días antes de la tragedia, Miguel me sorprendió llevándome a algún lugar donde esperábamos abrir nuestro restaurante, un sueño que había sido nuestra guía.
They fill me with anxiousness because I long for the love that now can never be. Days before the tragedy, he surprised me by taking me to a place that we were trying to rent to start a restaurant.
Mientras mirábamos por las ventanas, hablamos de un futuro en el que no tendría que sufrir por un trabajo peligroso y una salud deteriorada.
While we looked through the windows of a place we wanted to rent to start our restaurant, we imagined a future where he had a job where he did not have to suffer the laborious and dangerous work.
Luna and Castellan were married for 6 years.
And the FBI and U.S. Postal Inspection Service are looking into suspicious packages sent to election officials across more than 15 states. So far, there haven't been any reports of injuries or hazardous materials found, but Maryland is one of the states where a suspicious package was intercepted before reaching the State Board of Elections. Elections Administrator Jared DeMarinis confirmed that this is the second time in the past year that similar packages have been mailed to election offices in various states.
Well, a group of House Republicans in Annapolis are calling on Governor Wes Moore to get tougher on immigrants living in Maryland illegally. Specifically, they want the governor to issue an executive order mandating local law enforcement agencies coordinate with immigration and customs enforcement to turn in people unlawfully in the state who have been convicted of a violent crime. More than 84% of Marylanders would prefer if local law enforcement coordinated with ICE, according to a recent Gonzalez research poll. According to the Migration Policy Institute, there are about 225,000 people who enter the country unlawfully living in Maryland.
The county council is considering a bill that would tie the minimum wage to inflation. The piece of legislation is known as CB 88, and it was introduced to the council yesterday. According to reports, the measure, if passed, would require the minimum wage to increase each year by inflation up to 5% beginning July 1st of 2025. 8 county council members have co-sponsored the bill. Currently, the state's minimum wage is $15 an hour.
Angela Also Brooks is leading Larry Hogan by 7 points in the latest poll to determine who voters will choose in the U.S. Senate race this fall. According to the survey by Emerson College, 49% of polled voters said they would vote for Democrat Also Brooks, compared to 42% for Republican opponent Hogan. With Democrats outnumbering Republicans and independents in Maryland, the former governor will need cross-party support to beat Also Brooks. The poll shows he currently has support from 15% of Marylanders, also voting for Democrat Kamala Harris for president.
We're just 48 days away from the presidential election, and young voters in Maryland are making sure they're playing their part. 64% of 18-year-olds in the state have already registered to vote in the November 5th election. The total impact of these new voters cannot be measured just yet, but experts believe that tight races like Maryland's open U.S. Senate seat could see the most influence. Young voters are expected to sway the outcomes of elections in key battleground states like neighboring Pennsylvania.
And student activists at the University of Maryland moved forward with legal action to officially sue the school after administrators canceled an interfaith vigil planned for October 7th. The lawsuit was filed by the Council on American Islamic Relations and says the school's decision was unconstitutional. The two groups, Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voices for Peace, had planned a vigil on the anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel and the beginning of the war on Gaza, which has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians.
As SJP, we are horrified beyond words at the obstruction of the advancement of equality, justice, and liberation by the hands of the University of Maryland College Park, the University System of Maryland, and the President himself, Dr. Darrell Pines. We urge them to correct the damages they have caused and fully restore our reservation for an educational event on October 7th in line with our constitutional rights.
Ultimately, I think that this is going to attract more attention to the organizing the SJP is doing, and then I think ultimately when this vigil happens on October 7th, it's going to be a much greater success than anything that campus officials could have put together themselves.
CTV reached out to the university. A spokesperson declined to comment on the lawsuit, instead referred to the September 1st statement issued with their decision to block the rally.
Police need your help tonight in locating a missing man. Take a look at your screen. 70-year-old Colin Fryer was last seen in the 6900 block of Pickett Drive in Morningside yesterday around 1 p.m. Fryer is a black male, 5 foot 8 inches tall, and weighs about 220 pounds. There are currently no details about what he was last seen wearing, but anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call the Missing Persons Unit at 301-772-8970. And we now have an update on the officer-involved crash from last week. The crash happened in the intersection of Campus Way South and Joyston Drive. One driver involved was an on-duty patrol officer. The second was 85-year-old Jeanette Benthal of Largo. Both were taken to the hospital shortly after the collision. Benthal died of her injuries on Saturday, and the officer has been released from the hospital. Now, the cause of the crash is still under investigation.
Well, police say a Prince George's County man that hit a 12-year-old girl with his car had more than $18,000 in unpaid traffic fines. Metropolitan Police say the incident happened on September 9th in Northeast D.C. when, according to witnesses, Earl Curtis of District Heights failed to stop in time for a red light and collided with 12-year-old Paisley Brody in the crosswalk. Curtis was issued a citation, which a D.C. councilman expressed frustration with on social media, claiming Curtis had accumulated more than 80 speeding tickets and $18,000 in unpaid fines in the district. 12-year-old Paisley was treated at Children's National Hospital with minor injuries. And a former CIA officer accused of sex offenses against more than 24 women over the span of 14 years faces sentencing today in Washington. 48-year-old Brian Jeffrey Raymond pleaded guilty in November to drugging 27 different women and engaging in non-consensual sexual acts with 10 of them, recording the abuse in 25 cases. U.S. prosecutors are arguing Raymond be imprisoned for 30 years for the crimes, which spanned 5 countries, including in Mexico City and the D.C. area. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Mariah Jalad.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Still to come, if you're considering purchasing a new home, you may want to hold off. Economists are warning home buyers of some unintended consequences.
We have that story and more after the break.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. Thanks to your donations, we're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Welcome back. Well, just hours ago, the Federal Reserve cut its benchmark interest rate by an unusually large half point. That's after more than 2 years of high rates that helped tame inflation, but also made borrowing painfully expensive. This is the first rate cut in more than 4 years, and the feds are looking for the cut to help boost the job market. The key rate is now roughly 4.8%, down from a decade high of 5.3%. This coming just weeks before the presidential election, the cut has the potential to shake up the economic landscape just before Americans head to the polls.
And some economists fear the Federal Reserve's rate cut could have unintended consequences for the housing market. According to CNN, action taken by the feds could make the country's home affordability crisis worse. Part of the problem is mortgage rates went from historic lows in 2020 to their highest in a generation last year. In theory, according to a CNN business writer, a rate cut would help the housing market, but there are fears that a drop in mortgage rates could bring a surge of demand, making it tougher to buy a house, especially since demand is outpacing supply.
Meantime, Amazon is telling its workers that they must be in the office 5 days a week beginning in the new year. According to reports, the change came from CEO Andy Jassy in a memo on Monday. The new policy change will go into effect beginning January 2nd. Currently, the online retail giant only requires its workers to come into the office 3 days a week. Reports also indicate that Jassy is asking its department leaders to cut the number of managers it has.
And Blink Charging Company, a leading provider of electric vehicle charging equipment and services, is rolling out a cost reduction plan to ensure its long-term success amid current economic challenges. The plan includes a 14% reduction in global personnel, which is expected to save around $9 million annually. Now, these changes will start immediately and be completed by the first quarter of 2025, focusing on streamlining operations for better efficiency.
And racing industry veteran Bill Knopf has been named president and general manager of the Maryland Jockey Club. Selected by the Maryland Thoroughbred Racetrack Operating Authority, Knopf will oversee the nonprofit company set to manage Maryland's racing future. He will lead efforts to revitalize Pimlico Racecourse, which is set to be rebuilt after the 2025 Preakness Stakes. The state plans to open the new facility in 2027. Meanwhile, all racing will temporarily move to Laurel Park. Knopf says he's excited to help shape the future of Maryland's storied racing history.
Well, the University of Maryland is opening up 10 courses this semester that will use AI chatbots. The chatbots will function similarly to ChatGPT. Students will be able to interact with the chatbots, asking it questions about the syllabus or class material. Now, with the use of this technology, professors could see a decrease in the amount of students needing to come to office hours, opening up their time to help students who may need additional assistance.
And the National Capital Region Transport Planning Board met today to discuss a plethora of issues. One of the topics that state, county, and city leaders from D.C., Maryland, and Virginia addressed was the Regional Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Implementation Strategy. This plan will help local and state jurisdictions improve their EV charging infrastructure. The REVII strategy is a part of a larger $7.5 billion project headed by the U.S. Department of Transportation. And still to come on CTV News, don't rainy days like this make you want to cuddle up with something soft?
Yeah, and if your significant other isn't doing the trick, we might have what you need in our Pet of the Week. Stick around, we'll be right back.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Got one of these hanging on the wall? You're qualified. One of these? You're qualified too. Love a good checklist? Qualified. 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 Yep, qualified. Because if you know how to put up anything in your home, you're qualified to save lives by installing free smoke alarms in your community. Go to soundthealarm.org to find a volunteer event near you.
Now it's time for our Metro Minute. Maryland is ranked the second happiest state in the country. Researchers from Wallet Hub report the state's happiness comes from the low employment rates, high percentage of household earnings, and a high ranking of Marylanders liking their jobs. And if you shop on Shein or Temu, listen up, prices from both retailers could rise as much as 20%. That's due to a trade law loophole that allowed packages valued under $800 to avoid scrutiny at the border.
Also, the party is over. Food storage company Tupperware has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after years of falling popularity and financial troubles. The 78-year-old brand became popular through direct sales at Tupperware parties. And on the other hand, Red Lobster fans can rejoice. The seafood chain has exited Chapter 11 bankruptcy with its new owners and CEO. With this restructuring, Red Lobster is now a standalone, privately held business.
Well, motorcycle safety is the aim of a course sponsored by the Maryland Department of Transportation. It's called MD Motors, or Motor Officers Teaching Other Riders Safety. The classes pair licensed motorcyclists with the law enforcement riders. Attendees received classroom instruction along with mentored riding instruction. CTV caught up with the last class of the 2024 season. The aim is to eliminate the high number of motorcycle deaths in Maryland.
So for perspective, last year there were 82 motorcycle fatalities in the state of Maryland. So far this year we're already at 70 fatalities. 3 months left to go. Really concerned to see that high number already. We know that riders continue to ride well into the fall and even some in the winter with our nicer weather. And so really have to look out for each other, be safe out on the roadway, make sure everybody gets home safely.
We cover a variety of topics. We talk about the motorcycle specifically, safety concerns. We cover all the laws and topics. We cover riders' gear, different riding behaviors and tactics you can put on the road. There's an open road ride evaluation done early in the day. And actually there's a skills portion that the rider's getting ready to start right now, where we hone in some fine skills with clutch, throttle, and brake control.
To get more information on the classes and where they'll be held, go to the website on your screen. And good news for coffee and tea drinkers. A new study suggests that moderate caffeine consumption, around 3 cups a day, may reduce the risk of developing multiple heart conditions, including stroke, coronary heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Researchers found that those who drank 3 cups daily had a 48% lower risk of cardiometabolic diseases compared to non-drinkers. While this study adds to growing evidence supporting caffeine's role in heart health, experts caution that more research is needed and excessive caffeine, especially from energy drinks, may pose risks.
And meanwhile, new research suggests that catching up on sleep during the weekend may benefit your heart health. The study found that individuals who compensated for lost sleep on weekends had a 19% lower risk of developing heart disease. Now, researchers analyzed data from over 90,000 participants and found that weekend sleep helped lower the risk for conditions like heart failure and stroke, particularly for those with chronic sleep deprivation. Now, experts caution, however, that regular sleep patterns throughout the week remain the best way to protect heart health.
Well, it's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for our Pet of the Week. Meet Bucky. He is a 3-year-old Presa Canario mix.
He has been at the shelter since August 11th. Animal management says Bucky is such a sweet gentleman.
Bucky needs a family that's going to be patient and loving because he is still a little timid sometimes when it comes to meeting new people. He walks well on a leash. He walks well on the leash, and he's easy to walk, and it seems like he do like other dogs because he do get excited when he see other dogs walking by. And he also know a few tricks if I can show y'all real quick. Sit. Give me paw. Good boy.
And if you would like to adopt Bucky or any of his furry friends, call Animal Management at 301-780-7200. And after the break, Simon Buggs has our Wednesday sports page.
That's right, and he's talking UMD sports, so grab your popcorn. What do we got, Simon?
That's right, guys. Today's sports page is all about Terps. Stay tuned, sports fans, as I have some great news from the world of soccer, football, and volleyball. Stay right there.
Why is just a starting line? For the true self blooms only when we find our purpose. What makes us tick? Below the surface. My why is diversity and unity, a safe space in my community. Living with sincerity, giving every day my everything. With my why, I stand strong, seen and supported all along. For some, their why is a summer under stars, memories and moments, connections near and far. Why is the before work hustle, an after school home, a section of my block, a corner to call my own. Our reason why is united, undivided, seeking understanding. Here, a handshake is a promise. All our hearts are dancing. Laughing is our song. It's kinship, friendship, tide rising with the ship. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why for a better us.
I'm the Big C. What is the Big C? I'm here to tell you about skin cancer. Skin cancer is the cancer you can see. If we see something new, changing, or unusual, that could be skin cancer.
Is there skin cancer on me right now?
I'm not a dermatologist, but you know who is?
Yeah.
Your dermatologist. You gotta get checked, girl. Do I? Yes. Everybody has to get checked. See the Big C today.
As we work to get through these times together, you may not be thinking about blood donation, but blood is needed to save the lives of people who are sick with a range of illnesses. It's easy and safe to give. If you are in good health, please donate. We need heroes now. Visit redcrossblood.org to schedule an appointment.
Okay, sports fans, are you ready? Because the wait is over. The time has finally come, the start of your Wednesday sports page. We begin with some news from the gridiron as Terps wide receiver Ty Felton has been a man on a mission to start the season. Through the first 3 games of the year, Felton has recorded 27 receptions for 447 yards, which ranks 3rd in the entire country. The Virginia native is also averaging almost 17 yards per catch. And head coach Mike Locksley touched on what has gone into Felton having such a great start to this season.
The biggest area of his growth has been his confidence going into this season. I know he's worked with our sports performance people on just the mindset. We sent them away. You know, our strength coach Ryan Davis sent him and 3 of our guys away. They had a 4-day break in summer workouts where they went down to Pensacola to the Exos workout facility, training facility, and they got to see some pros. And I know he spent time with a veteran pro that he came back a different guy, taking care of his body. His confidence is through the roof. He's playing and practicing at a high level. Can't say enough good things about Ty, and the season he's having thus far is a byproduct of the work he put in.
Felton will look to continue his great play when the Terps take the field against Villanova next on Saturday at noon. I'll definitely be tuning into that. Now listen up, Terps soccer fans, as I have some great news regarding a player from the team. Congratulations to men's soccer forward Max Rogers for being named the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. This comes after Rogers had a 3-assist game in the team's 3-0 win over Wisconsin last Friday. Rogers got his first assist in the 17th minute, his second just after halftime, and his last one came in the 53rd minute of the match. This is the second consecutive season a Terp had 3 assists in a game. Rogers and the rest of the team will return to action on Friday as they will travel to Bloomington to take the field against the University of Indiana. Moving on to the world of volleyball, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot to be excited about the Terps volleyball team, and one of the reasons is because of the team's recruiting class. The team added setter and former All-American Lily Wagner, hitter Catherine Scherer, and middle blocker Duru Gökçen from Turkey to the group during the offseason. And one of the veterans on the team, and Samantha Schneider, has enjoyed playing with her new teammates.
They're all awesome. All 3 of them are awesome. They bring completely different energy to our gym, like fresh freshman energy, and so it's super cool to have them on campus, and they're really committed to what we have going here, and really aggressive with everything, and are willing to work, willing to put in the work, and willing to do what it takes to win.
The Lady Terps are rolling at 6-2 on this season, and they will look to get their 6th straight win against Delaware State tonight at 7 o'clock. And wrapping up sports, the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles both suffered losses yesterday. The Nats fell to the New York Mets 10-1, while the Orioles were shut out by the San Francisco Giants 10-0. Washington will be back in action against New York tonight at 7:10, while the Birds will take the field against San Francisco again tonight as well at 6:35. And that is your Wednesday sports page.
So, Simon, it looks like we've got some strong players on all the Terps teams. Who else is standing out to you?
Well, Mariah, another player I want to highlight is Billy Edwards. I was wondering how he performed this season, being though he hasn't had a lot of starting experience being at quarterback. But this past season, he's gotten off to a great start. He's completing 71% of his passes, and he also has 6 touchdowns to just 1 pick. And also want to highlight defensive back Glendon Miller as well. Through the first 3 games, he has been a ball hawk, recording 3 picks. He's definitely been a very nice piece of that Terps defense. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they can do against Villanova on Saturday, guys.
All right. Thanks, Simon.
No problem.
Now let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, expect showers and possible thunderstorms. Tomorrow, we still have a chance of rain on the way. We'll have a high of 78. Friday, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high of 79 and low of 63. Saturday, just as nice, but partly sunny with a high of 77.
And before we go, our community calendar starting tomorrow afternoon, the Bowie Senior Center is hosting a support group workshop for widows. The 8-week workshop offers emotional support and practical advice for widowed men and women to help them adapt to their new circumstances. But for more information, contact 301-809-2300.
All right, that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.